there were some comments in my comment section talking about rom-coms, and we started talking about how some of the things that we were seeing in these movies were probably like gaslighting, and some of it was like stalking, and a lot of it could have been coercion. And some of the things that we have seen, if we were to look back at it right now, would be like, red flag, totally unacceptable. But we saw these things as romantic gestures. And rom-coms for us as teenagers or adults was like a natural progression going from fairy tales into these romantic comedies. And some of the things that if we were to look at it right now, we would say, that's a red flag. That right there is love bombing. That right there, you see, they're applying that girl with alcohol. We'll be able to point all of these out, but some of this stuff was our coming of age movies. So we didn't know that this is not what a healthy, we didn't know that this is an unhealthy dynamic or an unhealthy relationship. We were just watching movies and we saw a love story. So like I said, we were having this conversation and I took to my YouTube page and I said, I want to explore how rom-coms have jacked up our perception of relationships. I know we talk about fairy tales, but the programming is much bigger and wider than that. Think about the music and how that's programming. Think there's books, there's TV series, there's so many things that normalize bad behaviors, and we've taken it in and we've added a laugh soundtrack to it. It's like, oh, this is supposed to be funny. Oh, the hot woman is supposed to get a goofy guy. Oh, a woman that is out here being all extra successful getting with this dumpy man that doesn't have any drive. That's normal. So a lot of the things that we saw as normal, when you think about it right now as an adult, it's just like, those were a lot of red flags. But I said right here, this is why we probably didn't have the language for love bombing and future faking. It's probably why we didn't have the language of red flags and warnings, because so many of the things that we watch, they were written by men. And they were like, you know what? The hot girl is going to get the dumpy guy. He wrote that because that was maybe his fantasy, and we kind of fed into it. One of the comments that got me going down this line was from Biblioholic saying, I think rom-coms taught people that they can mess up and then do a big gesture, which eventually developed into love bombing as a sort of preemptive big gestures being banked for future misbehavior. So it's like you mess up and then all of a sudden you buy a bunch of flowers, or you mess up and then you buy a big old ring or something like that. And we saw that as, normal dynamics for a relationship, especially if you saw these rom-coms during your coming of age type of movies. Like, I was born in 1980. So a lot of the movies that I saw in the 90s and early 2000s, that's when I was coming of age. And I'm like, okay, I see this career-driven woman. She's out there. She got on her heels. She's all snazzy. She's college educated. This is how she gets love. And then she has to take a step back. And then she's going to focus on her family and she's going to be married. And that's the kind of thing. It was like a literal adult fairy tale. But I do need to mention Black rom-coms, or what some of us would today call struggle love. If I were to look at these movies from a 44-year-old eyes versus early 20s or teens, when I was in the 90s, it's completely different, because then you start to see that person was very aloof. That person didn't really like her. That was a mean thing to do. Why is she taking him back? Why is she sitting up here begging this man? It was so much struggle in Black rom-coms or Black struggle love. But that is how they programmed us to go for these types of gestures with movies and bomb soundtracks. I'm totally sure that if you're a Black woman watching this video, you know that some of these movies had some amazing soundtracks to it. And that's why a lot of this is cultural. A lot of it's cultural programming, and they use the movies and the music to go hand in hand. And it was like, it brings back some memories. Oh my gosh, it's a lot that we could definitely talk about and start breaking down some of the struggle love that we saw. And then it became acceptable. And then in the end, they got together, they got through all of the obstacles, and then they finally found love. I did see a comment a few months ago that said, can we recognize that Vanessa Williams' character was actually the good guy, even though they made her out to be the bad guy? She was the one that was good with money. Her husband is the one that cheated on her, but they made her out to be a B word. And then over here, with A Thin Line Between Love and Hate with Lynn Whitfield, this man literally drove her crazy, but she was made to be the bad guy. So like I said, a lot of the things that we saw with these movies was kind of topsy-turvy. Like all of the women that were made to be like cold or a B word were actually, they had reasons to be cold and a B word. They just painted them out like that because being educated, having money were always kind of like bad things. And then if you think about it right now, the programming for the feminist woman, the woman that's a go-getter, if you let, the white folks say it, it's a girl boss type of thing. Like the girl boss feminism is a bad thing, but a woman that takes a step back and she's focusing on the family, that's romance. That's how you have a healthy relationship. You can be all girl boss, but soon as you find that man, you're supposed to take a step back. So that is how the modern relationship, the modern fairy tale to rom-com progression happens. So I Am Still Here says, yep, don't forget all of the stalking and lying and manipulation that's considered justified. And that is something that we would see. It's like stalking. Oh, he really cares about her. So that's the reason why he's following her around. That's the reason why he's popping up at her job. Oh, he really cares. Lying, there's definitely a lot of lying, like how the men would be like game planning, how we're going to meet up and magically be where she is, and that's how we're going to accidentally run into her. Manipulation tactics were all in and through all of these movies. Purge makes an amazing point, and I've made this point before as well. The entertainment industry was and still is dominated by men. The movies are written and directed by men. It is what men think women find romantic. That's the disconnect. It is a misogynistic solution to real world problems. Much like corn, it is not real as in real life. It does not feel good. And the thing is, once women started to get into writing stories, Netflix series, these other stories, movies and books, you could tell the shift, because what men posted as romantic gestures, yes, you could see it now as this is controlling, this is a red flag, this is manipulation, he's trying to control the situation. You could see that, but man, and the sex scenes were completely like random. You sit up and watch sex scenes right now, it's just like, yeah, there were no women in the room when he thought that one out, because like bathroom scenes and all of it's just pushing up against the dresser or something. It's just like, that's not really what we like, but you could tell that's probably what the man thought was hot. I know there's definitely a wider conversation for us to have regarding rom-coms and relationships, and how many of the messages that we've seen repeated over and over have programmed us as far as what our relationships, what they should look like, what we should be expecting. And it's so crazy that many of these follow pretty much the same formula. College educated woman, she's in her career. A lot of the time she's in some kind of office space, definitely a white collar job. And then, like I said, she has to take a step back. There's all kind of manipulation up until this point. I don't know if there's always cheating. There was definitely cheating over here. There's definitely cheating in the black rom-coms, and women are just supposed to accept it. But right now we're having bigger conversations. We're talking about certain things as far as that is definitely a no-go. We're not accepting the struggle love. We're not expecting a fairy tale anymore. We're not expecting to just get over trauma, the coercion, all the alcohol, the unrealistic standards, the shopping that they were pushing, because these women were always impeccably dressed. Like, how are you fresh out of college, you're in your 20s and you're dressed like that, and you're living in an urban neighborhood that we know things cost way more money than you probably should have. So a lot of these things were totally unrealistic. And so now we're getting out of that era. We're deprogramming from many of these messages that we were fed in our formative years? This is going to be a bigger conversation, so go ahead and chime in. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, share.